Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to my Italian Grand Prix preview. Now, following what was a rather anti-climactic Belgian Grand Prix, not awful, but not exactly a thriller, all eyes now turn to Monza, another racetrack steeped in F1 history. And following an impressive and ominous performance in Spa, Ferrari head into this weekend arguably as the favourites. But with Singapore next up, a circuit Mercedes historically struggle at, last year aside of course, the Silver Arrows and Lewis Hamilton will be hoping for a strong weekend in Italy. Before we talk about this year's race though, let's have a look back at last year's Italian Grand Prix. It was a race weekend probably best remembered for a raft of grid penalties, which saw just Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz and Jolyon Palmer starting in the grid positions they qualified in and led to Lance Stroll starting on the front row with Esteban Ocon just behind. But in terms of the race itself, it was a hell of a drive from the eventual driver of the day, Daniel Ricciardo, the Aussie coming from 16th on the grid to 4th in the race. And of course, let's not forget that dive bomb on Kimi Raikkonen into turn 1. What a move. Felipe Massa and Max Verstappen came to blows, making contact at turn 1 with the Dutchman suffering a puncture. And Fernando Alonso and Jolyon Palmer raced hard before the Brit was handed a 5-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Palmer later retired from the race, something Fernando Alonso now famously described over team radio as karma. Lewis Hamilton took pole position on Saturday with a 1:35.554, with the Brit going on to take victory as well on Sunday. His teammate Valtteri Bottas followed him home to complete a Mercedes 1-2, with Sebastian Vettel taking the final spot on the podium for Ferrari. As mentioned briefly there, Daniel Ricciardo's drive through the field saw him awarded Driver of the Day from the fans, the Aussie also setting the fastest lap of the race on lap 49 with a 1:23.361. Now, last time out, it was a very disappointing end to what looked like being a very strong weekend for Kimi Raikkonen. The Finn was hit in turn 1 at Spa by Daniel Ricciardo, leaving him with a puncture, damage to his floor and end plate, with Kimi pitting on the end of lap 1 for repairs. However, despite the team's reassurance that all was okay, Raikkonen struggled after the safety car restart and pitted soon after to retire. So without any doubt whatsoever, he will be very keen to put that right in Monza. This weekend is the team's home Grand Prix, of course, and following the tragic passing of Sergio Marchionne earlier this year, it will certainly be an emotional one for the Scuderia. Both Kimi Raikkonen and teammate Sebastian Vettel will be desperate to help Ferrari to their first win at Monza since 2010 and their first 1-2 in front of the Tifosi since Rubens Barrichello and Michael Schumacher back in 2004. Let's have a look then at some of the track stats. The track length is 5.793 kilometres, or if you prefer that's 3.6 miles. There are 11 corners, 7 to the right and 4 to the left, and there will be a total of 53 laps on Sunday. According to the McLaren website, drivers are at full throttle for 75% of the lap, with Mercedes saying it's somewhere between 70% and 79%. And for those interested, the highest lateral G around Monza comes in at 3.1, and that is at turn 7. It should also be noted that the FIA have extended the DRS zone running from the second Lesmo all the way down to the Ascari chicane in a bid to aid overtaking. And it has also been confirmed that DRS zones have been extended for the Russian, US, Brazilian and Abu Dhabi Grand Prix later this year. There are a few good overtaking opportunities around Monza, but it is very high speed, and there are just 11 corners, so there aren't a huge number of places to pull off a move. The obvious one is down that first chicane, and with DRS down that super long start-finish straight, it is likely to be where we will see the majority of overtaking we get. A good run out of the Curva Grande should set drivers up for a move into the chicane at turn 4, but as is the case with turn 1, it is very tight. Some may try and move through the Lesmos or Ascari, but they are fairly quick corners, so it can be a bit of a risk. And I have to say, given the nature of the Ascari chicane, I'm not convinced that an extended DRS zone will do too much, other than make overtaking on that straight easier. After that though, it is all a case of who has the nerve to hold a move through the Parabolica, one of the most famous corners in Formula 1. The tyres available this weekend are the same ones they were using in Belgium, that's the medium, the soft and the super soft. And in terms of the driver choices, both the Mercedes drivers will be taking 8 sets of the super softs, Daniel Ricciardo also taking 8, and that's mirrored by both the Renault drivers and both the Toro Rosso boys as well. Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen are joined by Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon and both the Saubers in taking 10 sets of the super softs. Lance Stroll and Sergei Sorokin will take 9 sets, as will Grosjean and Magnussen, but both the McLaren drivers and Max Verstappen are taking just 7 sets of the super soft tyres. Before I get onto my predictions then, let's have a look at my one to watch, and this time around, I'm going to go for Daniel Ricciardo. Quite simply, I've chosen him because Christian Horner confirmed that he will be taking engine penalties this weekend in order to take advantage of Renault's new Spec C unit. That would see him fall to the back of the grid, and as we've seen so often throughout his career, the Aussie will be fighting hard to pull off yet another comeback. Okay, Monza is pretty much all about speed and power, and I suppose you could then argue that he will struggle. However, as mentioned at the start of this preview, just 12 months ago, Daniel Ricciardo started from 16th on the grid and recovered well to 4th. And if Red Bull go with a super low downforce setup like we saw in Spa in Canada, they could well surprise with their pace. For me, I fully expect that if he can keep it clean through those first few corners and that power unit upgrade is reliable, he could still be on for some decent points come Sunday. On to my predictions then, and following some very impressive pace at Spa, I kind of get the feeling that Ferrari will be strong again this weekend. However, there are some question marks over the weather. Whilst the majority of forecasters are saying it will rain on Friday, some are expecting Saturday to be wet as well, but others are saying it will be dry for the rest of the weekend. So, based on what we've seen so far this season, and assuming we get rain, I've gone with Hamilton for pole position, but if it stays dry, it really could be any one of the Mercedes or Ferrari drivers. It really does feel that close on a Saturday. However, after showing that speed last time out, I'm going to go with Sebastian Vettel for the win, but I do think Lewis Hamilton will follow him home in second place, with the other Ferrari of Kimi Raikkonen rounding off the podium. I'm going to go with 1 safety car, I think, and a total of 3 retirements, with Sebastian Vettel also getting the fastest lap. And just to finish off, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but this weekend feels like a big one for the title. Yes, Lewis Hamilton has a 17-point championship lead, but if Ferrari do deliver like they did in Spa and show that pace again, with Singapore next up, that 17-point lead could quickly disappear. As I've said all season, this is going down to the wire. That is it then for the Italian Grand Prix preview, and as ever, they were just my thoughts and my predictions, but what are yours? Who do you think will take pole position on Saturday? Who will grab victory on Sunday? And also, which driver is your one to watch? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will be back soon with more content as ever, and don't forget to join us once again over the course of this weekend for the usual session roundups, watch-alongs, and as ever, the live race debrief. In the meantime though, you can follow me on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.